Welcome back to the round table. I'm here as always with my fellow guests, Crossley, Carson, and Alex. Today we have a special guest, Ms. Sullivan, the AD of Dover Sherburne High School. Today we've prepared some questions about the fall sports season and future sports seasons and how they'll go. So, first question I have for you is how do you think the fall sports went? Like, what are the positives and negatives of it?
Yeah, I thought the fall season went really well. Some positives were that the student athletes did a great job at, adhering to all the new guidelines that we had, whether it was mask wearing or just the sport specific modifications like field hockey playing 7v7 or soccer not being able to head the ball or have throw ins, things like that. I think the student athletes and the coaches did a great job at adjusting to those changes. Some other positives were overall wins and losses. We just had a really successful season, and really this season, that wasn't my overall goal. My overall goal was really just for the student athletes to be safe and to get out there and to play with their teammates in the games that they love. But if we can win along the way, that's always a positive thing. So I think I released my newsletter a couple days ago for November, and we had almost a 70% winning percentage across the six different teams that we had. So we had boys cross country go undefeated for the second year in a row. They haven't lost a race since September 18th of 2018. They've won 14 league races in a row. We had golf go 9-1. They beat their big rival Westwood in the last match to tie for first in the pod. Girls soccer tied for first in the pod. Boys soccer had a great season. Field hockey had a great season. They finished really, really strong. I think that's it, right? And girls cross country. Girls cross country lost a really close one to Medfield, and then they ended on a 3-meet win streak too. So boys, girls, golf, soccer, field hockey. Yeah, so that's everyone. But I thought it went really well, and I really can't thank our student athletes and coaches enough for everything that they did to adhere to all these different guidelines. Some things that I think could have been better. And our league will say this. We're learning. We've never been in this situation before, and we're learning as we go. And it would I think the ending to the season, from the feedback I'm getting from the kids and the coaches, is that it was a little anticlimactic, right? We finished against Dedham. We did really well against Dedham, but that was just kind of an abrupt ending. It would have been nice to have some sort of a league tournament or something like that. So I think that's something my colleagues and I will learn and grow from for the winter, and use that as we move forward.
Awesome. So, building off of that, what do you think needs to continue for the student athletes and coaches for winter sports to happen?
Yeah, I feel really good about the winter. We have a great board of health that I'll be working with as soon as the MIAA releases their sports-specific guidelines. So hopefully those come out tomorrow. There's been a little bit of a delay in the sports medicine committee, and each sport, basketball has their own committee, hockey has their own committee, indoor track has their own committee. So they're all meeting with the sports medicine committees, and there's been a little bit of a delay. I don't think they saw eye to eye on some of the changes, so they're making those modifications, and hopefully we'll release them tomorrow. And then I'll meet with the Tri-Valley League and discuss our options for scheduling, and then I'll have to meet with the Board of Health and work with them along with Dr. Keogh and Mr. Smith. But I feel good about it. I think we put a really good foundation in place in the fall, and we showed that our student athletes are very resilient and adaptable. They adapt to change very easily, and I think the winter will be no different. And other than that, it's mostly indoor sports, so it is a higher risk, and we do have to just be a little bit more vigilant on cleanliness and cleaning, and always adhering to the mask wearing and things like that. But I do feel good about it, as long as, our league, which I know it will come up with a really good plan like we did in the fall. So we wait for the MIAA right now to come out with those guidelines, which hopefully will be in the next day or two, and then it'll start to get pretty busy again.
Thank you.
All right. Are you optimistic about winter sports happening?
I am. Yeah, I'm very optimistic. I think because the fall went so well for us, um, and for our league in general, we had some schools that had to miss some games here and there, but um, for Dover Sherborne, our fall season went so well that it does make me optimistic for the winter. Um, Especially with our league. Our league does a really good job at putting the right protocols in place and then working with our boards of health. So it'll be a lot of work, and it'll look different for sure. Whether that's changes to the games or less games in general, probably playing a similar schedule to the fall. I think we'll be going back to a large and small league instead of doing the pod play if that gets approved. So we would just be playing the small schools, Millis, Dedham, Bellingham, those schools. So we would hopefully go back to that play and play 10 games and, um, practice for a little while, maybe practice until the holiday break and then come back and maybe not start games again until, early January or so. So it'll look different, but I do feel really optimistic. And that's a big part of because our fall went so well. And our students did a really good job at following all the rules.
All right. Do you think they would run some of the low risk sports and not the high risk ones, or do you think all of the normal sports will be played?
That's a good question. I think that's what they're trying to decide right now. I have a good feeling that the MIAA is going to allow the schools to run all winter sports, high risk or low risk. I think that's what's holding them up in their decision making right now, is that they're for hockey and basketball, the high risk sports, they're trying to figure out the correct modifications to make those games safe to play during COVID. So I do think the state is going to allow us to play high and low risk sports.
All right. Thank you.
hmm
Okay. Has anything else come out regarding a football season?
So football is still in the same holding pattern that it kind of was before, of that it would run from February 22nd to April 25th. I think the really good news is, in my opinion, and Coach Ryan, talking to him, is that if we have football or if we have hockey and basketball, I think there's a very good chance that we would have football. Because it's high risk like those two, but it's outdoors. So I think if those two get off and running and do okay in the winter, I think football has a really good chance of happening during February to April.
Okay, great. Thank you.
hmm
So our next question is about the spring season. So, I know it's a bit far off, but do you think there's a shot of like a full spring season, like there's been in past years, like state playoffs and whatnot?
Yeah, I think if it's going to happen at all this year, it would be the spring. I think that they'll look to see if there's a vaccine and how the numbers look across the state, how the winter and the football season ran, and they extended that spring season to go a little later into like the first 2 days of July. I think it could go until. So I think if it's going to happen, it would be in the spring for sure. But I think it'll really depend on, the overall state's guidance and the vaccine and how schools' numbers are and how the other seasons go. But I feel like if there's a chance that we could have a spring tournament season of all of them, especially because we didn't last year. Spring missed their tournament season last year. So I know the MIAA really wants to come back this year and try to give them a spring tournament if they can. So of all the tournaments, winter they did vote that there would be no tournament. We don't know about fall too, but of all the seasons, I feel pretty good that there's a chance to have a spring tournament, which would be really great because I know how successful we are in the spring.
And then one last thing, adding on to the vaccine thing, do you think anything will change? Like, well, do you think people will still have to wear masks, or do you think they'll delay the season even more so they can have the vaccine out in time? Or
I don't think they'll delay the season anymore because that would cut into your summer. So right now the spring season runs from April 25th to July 3rd. So I think that's about as late as it can go because of coaches and teachers and student athletes just playing on other teams and things like that. So I don't think they'll delay it anymore. It'll be interesting to see, if the vaccine comes out and what happens to mask wearing. We all adapted and are pretty used to it, but I'm sure you guys can't wait to take them off, as can I. So I've worked out with them. It's not fun. So I can only imagine playing an intense sport like soccer or field hockey and wearing them. So um, it'll be interesting to see how we move forward and after having the vaccine, if that means, no more masks. So I would imagine so. I would imagine that, once we start working towards a safer environment, that mask wearing would go away.
All right. Thank you for those responses. I know you have a big NFL background, so do you want to share what your Super Bowl pick is for this year?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Trying to think. The AFC is really strong right now. I like Kansas City. I'm a big Patrick Mahomes fan. I grew up with Andy Reid and his family. We lived in Green Bay together at the same time. So, but I really don't like picking a repeat team. Trying to think who the AFC. My brother-in-law coaches at the Bengals, and I would love to say them, but I just don't think that's going to happen at 2-6-1. So I'll probably say Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh looks pretty good. I don't think they'll go undefeated. I think they'll lose in the next couple of weeks, but I think Pittsburgh has a pretty good chance. I think the AFC in general is just really solid this year.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good pick. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan, for coming on. And
Yeah, you're welcome. You guys have a good day.
you too.
you as well.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
On the Celtics draft last night.
Yeah, that was not good. They picked more guards, which they just don't need. Their first pick wasn't awful, but then the rest were just guards that they just didn't need. So I don't think they really succeeded in any way.
Yeah,
That game.
the guy
with
from
that draft.
Vanderbilt looks good, but and same with Peyton Pritchard from Oregon. But
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Aduka Azubeki or something from Kansas. So we need a big center who can rebound, and they failed to get that. So maybe they're looking into trading. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
The Hayward trade. The Hawks are interested, so maybe they get like Capella, something like that. I don't know.
Capella would be great.
Yeah.
I'm mad. I wanted Onyeka Okongwu. We were supposed to trade up, but we never did.
I think he's too small. Like, I think it's just the same as what everyone's always complaining about is not having a big guy. And he's still 6'9", so.
Yeah, but centers are getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah,
So
that's true. But there was also a guy he was from Europe. He was still on the board when the Celtics were first picking from like Siberia, I think. They should have gotten him. Or the guy from Kansas, but
I feel like we should have packaged up our picks and traded. Neesmith, he's a great shooter, but I don't know. I feel like we just drafted more guys that are just going to sit on the end of our bench, which is just not helping very much.
Yeah. Like Grant Williams would come in for 5 minutes and maybe hit a big corner three.
Carson Edwards, terrible. He can't shoot. And the only thing he was good at in college is shooting. And then Romeo Langford, just not good.
He was hurt.
And injured, yeah.
He's
shot like 30% from the field.
Peyton Pritchard's going to go straight to the Red Claws, and maybe he'll come up. But like we have guards. I mean, like
Yeah, I don't really know what they were thinking there.
Well,
Honestly, we don't even need small forwards too. We have
if we
plenty.
didn't address a big, then we're probably going to trade for one. So
Yeah,
I'd assume we have a trade in place with somebody.
I think they're more interested in just getting a guy who's already good rather than trying to groom a guy for a year and then making the playoff run next year.
I think
Filling that is hard.
we might get Capella because apparently the Hawks have interest in Hayward, and they drafted a Kongwu, so he could be their replacement center.
yeah. I also don't really get the point of drafting more young guards because we already have like Tatum, Brown. I don't know, Smart's that young, but we have our team's pretty young in general, so I don't really felt like there was a need to draft more young guards that we already have.
Yeah, we have Kemba, but like we're loaded on shooting guards, I guess, but
Mhm.
in the point guard department, not really. Like we have guys who could run the point guard. I mean, we also have like Brad Wanamaker, who's like 31, 32. So I don't know.
We
Overall,
just need a big.
yeah, we do, and hopefully Danny Ainge will do something. Then
Something out of his sleeve.
And they could have Tice come off the bench if you get, assuming you get like a center, a big guy.
Yep.
Free agency like opened up, or is that just been
I
the
think it opened up a couple days ago. And
I
then
know that the trade deadline did. I don't know if that was also free agency.
I don't know.
where do you guys think James Harden's gonna end up?
Oh, well, Harden's going to whine his way into getting onto the Nets. That's what all NBA players do now. It's just complain.
Yeah, dude, it seems like there's a lot of moving around in the NBA compared to the NFL. I think
Yeah.
people get like traded and try to leave their team way more.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The NFL's a lot different because it's like a 50-man roster versus a 12-man.
Yeah,
Also, the NBA, the like pretty good guys are getting like 20 million a year.
Yeah.
20 to 30 million. So
Yeah, I mean, NBA players are now like the max. Like James Harden rejected a $50 million contract.
per year.
Yeah. That's just
50 mil per year. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then Klay Thompson maybe tore his Achilles yesterday.
that was confirmed.
It's just I feel bad for the dude.
It was the Achilles.
Yeah. He's getting an MRI like in 2 days, I think.
Covered.
Tomorrow today.
That's brutal.
So he's probably gonna be out all this year.
Dude, tearing an Achilles would be terrible. Oh my god.
That's like way worse than the ACL.
Yeah. Wasn't he out? What was he out for last year?
ACL.
Yeah.
He might be done. I don't think he has anything left in him.
He'll want to come back.
That's gonna be a good team. You're gonna have
higher on that.
Curry, Clay, Weissman.
Yeah.
Once Weissman develops, but it's gonna be a good team.
But Curry's also back now. Like he was out all last year with the hand. So definitely be interesting to see how they do. I mean, I think they'll probably get into the playoffs with the team they have. They also have Wiggins, who's not amazing, but decent small forward.
It's Curry's chance to prove himself.
And Curry has proved himself. He's the best shooter ever.
Yeah. But he can win another MVP.
Yeah. He was looking like he could last year.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he he had the opportunity to, then he didn't play well and broke his hand in like his 4th game.
Yeah. So if the Nets do get Harden, what do you see them doing? 1 seed or
Yes.
hurt?
Yeah, 1 seed, but still don't think they had. I mean, they're probably gonna win, but yeah. The only problem I see with that is they don't really have anyone behind those 3 guys. But I mean,
Well, they do right now, but if they trade for Harden, they're gonna
no, that's what I'm saying. Like, if they do trade for Harden, they're gonna have no one left.
their bench. And the Nets have like one of the best benches in the league right now. So
I think it's pretty hard to lose when you have, or just not win the finals, when you have 2 top 5 players and like a top 15 player.
Yeah.
Like,
James Harden could find a way.
Also, I don't think he's won a ring yet, right?
Yeah.
no.
So I think almost that whole move is just trying to get a ring before because he's getting pretty old.
He's trying to win a ring while he's still in his prime.
The other thing is getting injuries. Like Kyrie's been hurt a lot over the past few years. He's hurt on the Celtics. He was like out all year with the Nets. KD was out all year. I don't know how he'll be coming back from a torn Achilles.
We'll have to see.
All right. Any other NBA thoughts?
Mm-mm.
All right. Then we'll call it. We'll be done for today.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tim.